So, we'll start with some current events. As you know, well, maybe you don't know, I'll inform you, President Trump, um, put a 90-day hold on some of his reciprocal tariffs, which he was putting against many countries, except China. China, he's still keeping all of his tariffs. China slapped back tariffs back in the US. So China and America are going tit for tat, thanks to Donald Trump. How many people here have an iPhone?
Well,
I do.
Okay, you know where it's made?
China.
California.
It says made in China, designed in California. That means it's physically the is made in China, right? So if you have 100% tariffs on China, what happens to your iPhone? The price of those parts become exponentially more expensive because of the manufacturing. So, will he put restrictions or alleviate countries that are doing business overseas and whatever? We don't know, but we know there's tariffs. So if you look at your electronics, things in your house, you might not even think too much about where things are made. You could have a laptop and there could be hundreds of different components in your laptop. Those components could be made in different countries. So um, having the issue of China, the tariffs with China, will create inflation on our products down the line, but soon because already the tariffs are already here. I have a client, they work in the textile industry. So guess where they do their manufacturing? China. So all the textiles, um, things that are manufactured and made coming out of China, Asia, they're going to be more expensive. Now, will China allow Donald Trump to bully the country with tariffs? Probably not. China is not the same country that it once was 40 years ago, right? It's become a global superpower, uh, a large middle class, and a lot of growth and wealth in the country. Then China also is not as dependent on the U.S. The U.S. is a very, very critical trade partner for China and U.S. as well, vice versa. But China can look at other markets. They can do other things. They're not super critically dependent as much as maybe they were in the past from a manufacturing standpoint, some standpoint. But a lot of countries still, a lot of businesses do business with China. So the tariffs that he's remaining on China, will still create a lot of price increases to come. And this isn't something that's going to happen years from now. This is immediate, right? The tariffs are immediate. So you start to see immediate shifts and changes in pricing as a result of that strategically. In fact, you guys, I'm sure everyone here has heard of Nintendo, right? So Nintendo is supposed to be releasing a new game console called Nintendo Switch 2. They put a hold on that because the stuff's made in China, because of the tariffs, because of all this stuff going on in the US. They put a hold on their release date and everything. So a lot of things are affecting the economy, uh, merchandise pricing, so on and so forth. The other issue people were mentioning as well, was they felt that Donald Trump is playing a game where he's deliberately using these tariffs to to manipulate the market, the stock market, because he put the tariffs and he pulled back the tariffs and it caused the market to drop significantly. And then when he says, "Oh, I'll just put a 90-day hold on the tariffs," the market shot back up again. And then he's physically saying now's a good time to buy his company or whatever. And he was having a conversation with some people saying, "Oh, you guys made lots of money, because of what I did." Like he's what he's telling people. Is that insider trading? Is he doing this deliberately to pump and dump and make money for his constituents? Himself, who knows? But you guys are the ones that are hurting or will be hurting. I'll say we are the ones, the average person is the one that's going to be reeling from the the up and down, right? So that's where we are. And the price of gold dropped and then went back up. And as I told you guys, I'm just pulling up the price real quick. As I told you guys last time, when there's fears of inflation, there's fears of economic turmoil, people start to flee into investments that are safer, right? So they'll go into safe investments, stable investments, more secure things to avoid downturns. People want to still make money in the market. That doesn't necessarily mean that they need to be fully invested in certain things. So right now, like gold futures are trading at $3,194, so almost $3,200. Um, it's a lot, right? It's trading quite a bit. So these things are kind of warning signs to us about what's wrong, what's happening, how investors feel. I think I read something that Japan sold off a whole bunch of treasury bonds to cover something, and that freaked out Trump because he thought there's something going on, and then that's why he supposedly pulled back the reciprocal tariffs for 90 days. But we're not sure. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I think the main thing to understand is uh, the things we're learning, how they affect us, right? So just a reminder about your work. Uh, so next week there's no class. We don't have class next week because it's spring vacation. The week after that is week 12. So right now we're in the 11th week of our course. Next week, no class. So it's still considered the 11th week of our course. The week after is the 12th week of our course. So 2 weeks out is when your career assignment is due. You haven't worked on it, figure out what career you're interested in, find a resume, Google a resume, and that resume will have 90% of the answers you need to do the assignment. The assignment's in week 7. So you gotta go back to week 7, download it, pull it up, and you can use that to complete the assignment. Uh, you're gonna upload it in week 12. So week 7 is where you find it. Week 12 is where you upload it. I may just post a direct link for you guys as well. So just keep in mind that's due in 2 weeks. You have your discussion boards. If you forgot about them, if you go onto Brightspace and click on discussion boards, you have your discussion boards, which are those questions that you answer every couple of weeks. There's a new discussion board. There's a Connect. So hopefully you guys are still working your Connect assignments. And then there's the SimNet, which is separate from Connect, separate login, separate payment, and that's your Excel assignments. When you log into SimNet, you have to find my class. In order to do that, we're not in Fitterman. We're not in Chambers. So when you choose to drop down the location, which BMCC location you're in, you have to choose like the generic location. It won't say in Heights. It won't say that. You got to choose a generic location. Then you type in my last name, Washington, and you'll find me. If you're having trouble doing that, shoot me an email. I can pull you into the course. Okay. So just to recap, you have your Connect, your SimNet, your discussion board, and week 12 coming up in 2 weeks is your career assignment. The instructions are in week 7. And of course, the midterm, which is in week 8, is still open. So if you haven't taken your midterm, take your midterm because it's 25% of your grade. The midterm is 25% of your grade, the final, those two, 50%, and then your the career assignment, 20 to 25%. So those three things, your midterm, your final, your career assignment, 70% of your grade, over 70% of your grade. So, if you complete those three assignments, that's passing, right? So if you're just doing your connect and you're not doing anything else and you're showing up to class, it's not enough. So just keep in mind that those things weigh more. Now, I provided extra credit, which I posted on the announcements. Some students did it. I had a couple of submissions between my classes. You can submit it whenever you want, right? So even though I submitted it prior weeks, you can still do it now if you needed to. It'll add 30 points to your midterm or final. If you got 100 on your midterm and you submit it, I'll add it to your final. If you get 100 on your midterm and final, probably don't need extra credit. But if for some reason you did, you'd be surprised. I had students do the midterm and final and then don't do anything else and still fail because that's not enough, right? So doing it will provide you an extra 30 points to any assignment or to your average of whatever other deliverable that needs to be done, which is a big number, right? 30% is that's like that's a lot. It's like 8% to your overall grade. Could take you from a B to an A, pretty much. Okay, so it's a pretty easy assignment to do. You watch the video I posted, you summarize in a paragraph or two, email to me. That's it. So without further ado, well, before I start, do you guys have any questions in regards to anything in particular before I start? If not, I will begin with chapter 13, excuse me, marketing. So marketing pretty much is very different now, right? 30 years ago, the way you did marketing 30 years ago is not the same way you do it today, right? You didn't have influencers, you didn't have Instagram, or you didn't have any of that stuff, right? A lot of people didn't have the internet. You know, there were no cell phones where you can log in and go online and check your stuff didn't exist, right? So how people buy, purchase, there's no online purchases, there's no Amazon and things. In fact, those companies that tried to do that, some of the pioneers of those companies, they failed miserably because the cost structure, just the way things were, didn't work, right? The shipping costs just destroyed them. The only reason why Amazon was able to succeed predominantly is because of the agreement they had with the USPS, and they were able to offload some of the cost structure. So they told USPS, United States Postal Service, we'll do X amount of the labor, so your guys don't have to do it, and then you do the other part. And they came to an agreement with the USPS, and the USPS agreed to do that. And then what happened is that you had them sort of the United States Postal Service was acting like Amazon delivery, and it was not a good deal for the USPS, but it was a good deal for Amazon, and it allowed them to do the free, the Amazon free shipping, and keep the cost down. And while their business scaled, they then started creating their own fleets and infrastructure to then do their own shipping. So now you have third-party companies like LaserShip that do the shipping for you. You can become a contractor and ship for Amazon because now they have the scale, the customers, the subscriptions, the size to support the infrastructure. Whereas before they were using the United States Postal Service to support the infrastructure. Had they not did that or done that, they wouldn't be in a position. So they figured it out. They figured out a way to do it. Others before them were not so fortunate, and the cost of shipping and shipping things back and forth just kind of wrecked them to do online business. That didn't stop online business, right? It is cool to just sit on your butt and buy something and have it shipped to you. You just pay for the shipping, right? But then the shipping cost becomes sort of an added thing. It's like, well, if I go to the store, I don't have to pay shipping. But then I have to get up and go and travel and drive or take the train, where I can just click a button and it delivers to me, right? So then there's that, which we still pay shipping costs. But when you have free shipping, do I want to go to the store? Do I need to go to the store? Like if I can physically buy something from Amazon, that's the exact same price at a supermarket or even cheaper. Cheaper than a CVS, cheaper than a Duane Reade. And I can have it shipped to my door for free. Why would I go to the store? Why would I buy it? Right? Because I want to see it. If this is toilet paper or something I need, I don't care. Just ship it to my door. Of course, sometimes people's stuff gets stolen, it gets lost in the mail, things like that happen. So sometimes you don't want things shipped, depending on external circumstances you can't control. So that sort of changed, Amazon changed a lot of the landscape because of redistributing shipping costs and shipping structure costs, and then eventually taking on the logistics means transportation, logistical aspect of the shipping, and them sort of just having their own fleet and saying, well, we'll just do it ourselves because we could deliver the cost cheaper if it's just for us. Instead of scaling it to others, we don't have to worry about that. So that's one of those things where things have changed tremendously. And because they've changed tremendously, you'll also find that marketing's changed because of that. You'll see now that the way I might remember you do an advertisement, television, news, radio, print. I mean, a lot of newspapers went out of business, right? You just pull up your phone and you can read apps and news. A lot of stuff has changed. So marketing. So does that mean all this marketing stuff doesn't apply? And the answer is it still does, because the science of marketing has nothing to do with the changes necessarily in how I deliver. Marketing's still marketing. So everything is still relevant. It's just the medium and certain characteristics of definitions, who those actors are, who those players are, have changed. So we look at marketing as the activity set of institutions and processes for creating, communicating, delivering, and exchanging offerings with values of blah, blah, blah. Okay. That's just the technical definition of marketing. That's sort of the science definition of what marketing is. It's not going to change. That's like the definition. Okay. If you go into a different classroom in a different campus and a different college, it's the same definition. Roughly, it's the same definition. You open up another textbook from another company. That's the other thing, is you guys might not realize that, but the definitions in these textbooks, they're the same in any textbook. Like you go to a competitor textbook, we're using McGraw-Hill, buy another textbook with another competitor, it's not a different definition. It's the same definitions. Why? Because these definitions have been researched, observed upon, and pontificated scientifically and studied scientifically by research, by PhDs, business research scientists. That's what they do. Okay. I call them scientists or PhDs. That's what they do. So these definitions you're reading, they're kind of like set in stone. This is the science of business. This is the science of that. So all the definitions you're reading, guys, is not nonsense. It's the science of business. That's the definition they came up with. Because the science of business, when we kind of extract the words in the definition, you can take the extraction of those words and apply them to real concepts, because they're that well thought upon. So that's why I say memorize the definition, but it might not mean anything to you. But when you start to make sense of what you're reading and understanding, which is why I try to bring current events in, you could take that definition and really sort of extract you could take a marketing plan. Like you could take Amazon's marketing plan. You could take Google, you could take Apple, and you could take these definitions and you could break it down bit by bit, structure by structure. You can even see what's wrong with their plan or what they should do, what they shouldn't do, because this is actually just science. You're studying the science of business. And a lot of students don't realize that. And I maybe I should say this earlier in the semester. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But this is all the science of business. So just like you go to the doctor and uh, you get your blood work done, and it's all very scientific and very specific because the human body only works a very specific way. It's kind of the same thing. This has all been heavily researched upon and thought upon and dissected. And, maybe they make changes, maybe they don't, stuff like that. But this is all very specific. So when I tell you uh, these things are as they are as they are. So essentially, the definition that you're seeing here, even though I just said 30 years ago, the way we used to do marketing is different, definition still applies, right? So that's why they have the next slide here, marketing eras. So eras of different times, 1800s, early 1900s, mid to late 1900s, 2000s, different types or styles of marketing. Production, selling, marketing concept, customer relationship. It's still marketing, right? And then the definitions of those era was the production era, the selling era. And these are definitions you need to know for your exams. CRM. To me, customer relationship management is important. The more you understand your customer, the better you can sell to them, the better you can hook them and catch them, the better you can solve their problems. So understanding the more you understand your customer, right? Their pain points, their problems, their issues, their psychology, the more you and like they figure that out. Like you click on an app, you click on an ad, you're looking at Instagram, you're looking at a picture on Instagram for a little bit longer than you would another picture. And they're taking that data behind the scenes. There's all these back-end databases. You have database engineers with master's degrees and all these degrees. They manage these databases. They take they know who you are, and it goes into the database, and they take that data and they extract and analyze it, run it across all these patterns and behaviors, and they figure out, oh, maybe she's pregnant, or maybe he's single and broke up with his girlfriend, and they send you a ad for some dating service or something. That's what they do. So there's no privacy, guys. Like if you're looking at stuff online and you think it's secret, it's not, right? They know who you are. They know what you're looking at. They know exactly what you're looking at. Okay. So don't play yourself and think they don't. That what you buy, what you spend, if you have a bank account and you make purchases with your debit card, your credit card, the banks, they share information with each other, right? Nothing's private. Yeah, you're laughing. Yeah, they look at it. If you're looking at things you shouldn't be looking at online, they know. And they don't care. They don't judge you. They're like, how do I make money off you? That's the only thing they care about. How do we make money off this guy? What is he going to buy? Right? Is he going to buy this? What type of ad should we put in his face that's going to look at our stuff? That's all they care about. Right? It's not a judgment thing. It's this. It's give me, how do I make money off this guy? But they have it. They have it in databases, all your data, all your information, your profiles, who you are, usually by your ISP, your internet service provider. You can block that stuff. You can use a VPN. It's called a VPN. It's like a monthly fee. You download the app on your phone or your computer. You could hide your ISP, your internet service provider information, your all that information that they would use to track you. You can block all that stuff. So you could be more anonymous as you surf if you desire. But if you're using an app where you log in, like you're using a Facebook or something or an Instagram, they have all your data because you're using your account. You're logging into your account. It's my account. They know your name. Maybe they know your name. Basic information, profile information. So they have if you're using their service, they know who you are, right? And they customize what you see for you. But if you're just going into a random website, like let's say I go to www I don't know, whatever.com, random website. They're looking at who your internet service provider is, what your number is, all these data, and then they take that data and then it goes into a backend website to a backend a database, and they track it and pull it. And that's why if you go to one website, then you go to another, you may see ads that are cross-relating because that's what they do, right? You could hide it. There's ways you could be more anonymous. People don't like that idea. You got to figure that out, right? That's for you guys to figure out. I just told you use a VPN to block your ISP. But if you're on Instagram or Facebook or TikTok, that's you choosing to use their service, and they know who you are. And every time you jump into their service, they're also tracking what you do outside the service if you let them, if you allow them, and they're tracking what you're doing in the service, what you're looking at, how long you're looking at, what you scroll on, and then that information is also feeding out back and being cross-sold. It's just business. So CRM, customer relationship management, learning as much as possible about your customers and doing everything you can to satisfy or exceed their expectations. Okay. So something to think about. It's the truth. And so what I do kind of want to touch on is the marketing mix, right? So marketing mix, if you have any questions, by the way, just jump in. Don't worry about it. But marketing mix is important because these are sort of like the four main points of marketing, right? They're known as the four P's. So it's very sort of foundational to marketing. So it's product, price, place, and promotion. So if you're creating a marketing strategy, you would sort of begin with your marketing mix. It's one of the areas to think about. And then under each of these four categories or ingredients, as they call it, you then kind of dig deeper from the product, the price, the place, promotion. You can dig deeper into it, right? So let's see this example here. Marketing managers and the marketing mix. So for example, lipstick, makeup, right? So that's the product of the four P's. You have the price. What is that? 20 bucks, 30 bucks, 40 bucks, whatever that costs. The place, so where is that being used, sold? They're showing a woman getting herself, looks like a spa, but people also might use that same product at home. Maybe it's used professionally, right? So your place and then a promotion. And as you know, so when you look at these four ideas, 40 years ago, the promotion, the place might have been different, right? Well, let's just say let's just take the promotion in this example. The promotion is different. There is no online internet connecting on your phone and shopping and online shopping. So the promotion is different, right? You influencers, you have a woman, could be a guy too, right? You have professional men that do makeup professionally. It's just an art form, right? So you have someone who's showing you how to put on makeup for whatever purpose, right? When you see a man on television, he's like a newscaster or a news anchor. There's a makeup artist that puts makeup on him so you can't see all the pits and cracks and puffs on his face and pimples. So he looks decent. So this isn't necessarily gender specific because it also ties into movies, films, plays, television, things of that sort, right? So the product could be very diverse in terms of product lines and so on and so forth. But promotion, you didn't have influencers before. Well, you did have influencers, right? Like let's say Arnold Schwarzenegger, a bodybuilder back in the day, he might be promoting a certain type of exercise or product or something. But how his promote is different, right? You knew who he was, but you see him on TV, radio, news, traditional mediums of media. Now you can literally see someone on your Instagram who's not on television that has as many followers or sometimes more followers than someone who is supposedly on television. And people are listening to that everyday person and they're promoting something, right? So they're doing makeup, doing hair, and they're saying, oh, well, I use this, I use that. use my code so and so forth to buy so and so, and they're acting as an influencer. So promotion's promotion, guys. Is you're promoting a product, you're promoting a product. How is being promoted, the medium, the methodology, the season, meaning the time and place is different. So with that, we look at the next slide. So the four P's, you have the product. So they're actually going, this is interesting because they're actually going over the design, the research, and identifying the market for a product. So you just don't make a product. A lot of people just say, I'm going to sell nurses. They need to wear something to go to work. So I'm going to just sell nurses' clothes or scrubs. Okay, but did you do research and understand your client, understand a target market? So before you create a product or sell a product, you're supposed to research the market, understand the customer, identify the opportunity, identify the need. So all that comes first before you create the product. Because if you make a product, well, why am I going to buy it? Why do I want it? So you got to first figure out the product, right? So then you have the product. If you just buy something and sell it and resell it, that might not necessarily be the right way to go about it. So once you have the product, then you do product testing. Product testing is a generic word for just testing it. It could be testing the market, testing if people want it. Then price, you determine, in this example, a brand name, a design, a package, and you set a price. What are they willing to pay, right? You figure out that price. If you make a hamburger and a hot dog and you have a restaurant or a stand, how much do you charge? Why are you charging that? Are people going to pay that? You go to a fancy restaurant, a burger could be like $30, which is painful, 20 something dollars for a burger. And you go to Shake Shack or you go to Five Guys and it's a $10 burger, depending on what you get on it, right? Or maybe less. Why is that burger 20 and why is that burger 10? Right? There's a reason. Hopefully there's a reason, right? The $10 burger may still taste better, but you set the price for whatever reason. Better ingredients, fancy, it's a restaurant, who knows? The place. So what's your distribution system, right? Mail order hamburgers, I don't know. Hamburgers in a can, frozen hamburgers, hamburgers in the restaurant. The promotion, how are you promoting your products so people are aware of it, right? So then building a relationship with a customer as it pertains to the product you're selling. But as you may know, sometimes the relationships come first, and the person then trusts whomever's referring of that relationship to the product, which is what an influencer does, right? So they're influencing you in some way because you're watching them for whatever reason, and they're giving you a recommendation or a referral on what to use or what to buy, and then you buy it, right? So that's so just keep in mind that each of these P's, you can dig deeper. You can dig deeper into product design. In fact, actually, most of the stuff is what I just went over here. The market research, researching the opportunity, understanding the customer, understanding what they want, what they need, so on and so forth. All right, and this is sociocultural, competitive, economic. These are the marketing environments, things you need to take in consideration in relationship to the four P's. Is the sociocultural environment affecting the four P's? Is it affecting one of these categories? How are all these areas, like the economy? Obviously, there are economies affecting price, right? Competition. Maybe you're selling something lots of people are selling the same thing you're selling. Is that good or bad in terms of what you need to consider for your product, your promotion, the place you sell it at? All right, so that's going to cover the basics of what I want to touch on with marketing. Before I end the lesson, do you guys have any questions? If you don't have any questions, then that's okay. All right. So I just want to remind you guys that next week, no class. Spend that time to complete your career project assignment. If you guys have any questions on the work you're doing, questions on what needs to be done, you can shoot me an email. My email is on the front page of Brightspace where my profile is. Just send me an email. Can help you out however need be. I will be sending you guys a link for a survey, a class survey. So just keep your eyes on that. I should send it out sometime this week or maybe the week after. And I'll bid you guys adieu, and I'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay? Take care, everybody.
Have a good break. Take care, man.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You're welcome.